Welcome, Vault Dwellers. I'm your Overseer, the Alchemist. With Fallout Season 2 coming to an end, there's never been a better time to dive back into the Wasteland. Fallout has never been about clean victories. It's about surviving bad situations, managing limited resources, and dealing with consequences that don't reset simply because you made it through the encounter. But bringing that experience to the tabletop isn't about replicating the video game. It's about whether the rules reinforce that sense of tension once the dice are in motion. Today on the Alchemist Lab, we're taking our first look at Fallout, the role-playing game from Modiphius, built on their 2D20 system. Now, this isn't a lore recap or a campaign diary. We're breaking down the core rulebook and how it's structured to support the game. Strap in, you won't want to miss this. This core book centers play in the Commonwealth, the region introduced in Fallout 4. Rather than presenting it as a resolved storyline, however, it treats the Commonwealth as an unstable space shaped by competing forces. Major factions, familiar locations, and ongoing conflicts are already in motion, but the rules stop short of declaring outcomes. The setting is framed around tension and uncertainty, leaving room for players' actions, or in some case inaction, to move events in different directions. Landmarks and organizations recognizable to Fallout players are present, but they function as reference points rather than scripted story beats. The expectation is engagement with the setting, not reenactment of the video game's plot. While the system itself can be adapted to other regions or eras of the Fallout timeline, the material in the core book is clearly focused here. Running games outside the Commonwealth is possible, but it requires the Game Master to account for differences in technology, politics, and tone. Fallout, as previously mentioned, uses Modiphius' 2D20 system as its mechanical foundation. When characters attempt actions, they will build a dice pool starting with two 20-sided dice, roll and compare the results against a target number formed by combining an attribute and a skill. Each successful die contributes towards meeting the task's difficulty. When players roll more successes than required, those successes generate action points. Action points represent momentum, advantages earned through preparation, skill, or favorable circumstances. These points form a shared pool that players can draw from to expand their options. They can be spent to roll additional die, gain extra information, reduce the time required to complete tasks, or enhance certain combat abilities. The Game Master operates under the same economy, gaining action points through complications and player choices. This creates a constant exchange where success on one side often increases pressure on the other. The system encourages forward motion, but it never removes uncertainty, with every advantage carrying the possibility of escalation. Characters are built using the familiar special attributes: strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. These attributes describe broad capability rather than narrow specialization. Starting values are balanced with limited opportunities to increase or decrease attributes during creation. This keeps early play grounded and avoids extreme statistical spikes. Skills are paired with attributes and represent trained ability. During character creation, players designate a small number of tag skills, highlighting where their character stands out while remaining limited elsewhere. Perks are selected early and act as defining mechanical choices. They provide specific benefits and often require certain attributes or skill ranks, encouraging focused character concepts. Starting equipment is determined through background packages tied to origins and factions, providing practical gear and establishing a character's place in the Wasteland. Combat in Fallout uses a damage system built around combat dice, producing results that are intentionally variable rather than predictable. Even successful attacks can resolve differently depending on how the dice fall. Damage is categorized into physical, energy, radiation, and poison types, each resisted separately. Armor and protection can vary by hit location, making positioning and equipment choices more meaningful. Players can increase their effectiveness by committing additional resources, such as action points or extra ammunition, but doing so draws from limited supplies. Injuries and negative effects can persist beyond the immediate exchange, reinforcing the idea that combat carries lasting consequences. Sure, fights are survivable, but rarely clean, and mistakes tend to compound rather than disappear. Survival is reinforced through interconnected systems rather than narrative assumption. Hunger, thirst, and lack of rest are tracked through escalating conditions that can impose penalties if ignored. These pressures interact with environmental hazards such as radiation or extreme temperatures, accelerating decline instead of remaining isolated concerns. Rest and recovery matter, and safe conditions provide tangible benefits, while neglect leads to building impairment. In Fallout, survival is not a backdrop. It is an ongoing mechanical concern. Chems offer powerful short-term benefits, but repeated use introduces long-term complications. Addiction is handled through concrete penalties that apply when the substance is absent, with radiation functioning in a similar way. Exposure accumulates, resistances matter, and mitigation depends on circumstances rather than immunity. Differences between character types, such as ghouls, are represented through specific rule interactions, keeping these systems consistent across the game. The Commonwealth is shaped by multiple factions, each with competing goals. None are presented as default allies or inevitable winners. The Institute, the Railroad, the Minutemen, and the Brotherhood of Steel are introduced as ongoing influences rather than resolved narratives, with Vault-Tec's legacy defined through its actions rather than its stated purpose. And broader conspiracies are treated as open questions rather than established fact. The setting operates as a pressure system, not a predetermined story. Fallout the role-playing game doesn't ask whether survival is possible, it asks what it costs. This is a system built around pressure, attrition, and decisions that linger. Resources run thin, risks stack up, and the rules don't rush in to smooth over the damage when something goes wrong. That approach mirrors the Fallout setting itself. Survival isn't clean, progress isn't guaranteed, and every advantage comes with something being spent, burned, or left behind. If that's the kind of experience you're looking for at the table, this game supports it directly and consistently. If it isn't, the system won't pretend otherwise. In the Wasteland, you don't get clean endings. You get to see what's left standing. Because if one thing's for certain, war. War never changes.